Today we're going to discuss monopolies. Our goal for this lesson is to recognize the positive and negative characteristics of a monopoly. Look at your vocabulary words. In 1914, legislation that dealt against monopolies, particularly in the area of price fixing, is the Clayton Antitrust Act. Commercial transactions between a customer and a seller is commerce. Contesting one another, the act of businesses which are fighting for the consumer's dollars, is competitive. The dividing, sale, or liquidation of a corporation is, I think it's divestiture. Okay, divestiture. A principle or value is ethic. An encouragement to strive for higher goals or profits is incentive. The combining of two or more corporations or businesses is merger. An exclusive financial control of a market is monopoly. Output, the result of manufacturing, is production. Unofficial mergers formed to control prices and production in the marketplace is trust. Okay, are monopolies the dream of every big company in America? One of the largest divestitures in American history occurred when the U.S. government ruled that the AT&T Corporation was a monopoly that must be divided so that the telephone market could be more competitive. The first question that might come to your mind could be, well, what's wrong with a monopoly? It is a good question, especially if you think of the American ethic. Do well in business. Outdo your business rivals. Grow as much as you can. Well, is the government wrong to break up a large business? Does that destroy the incentive of a company trying to do the best they can and grow as much as possible? Control is the issue here. In a monopoly, one company or a small group of cooperating companies has control of the supply of a product or service. So go ahead and put today's date in your notes. Okay, we can't hardly see that. Today we're going to talk about a monopoly. A monopoly is when one company, or it's a group of companies working together, but they have control. One company has control of the supply of a product or service. In regular competition, you would find a number of companies in strong competition for the consumer dollar. Monopolies are judged by how strong the competition is between the companies. Even if only 3 companies are in the market, a healthy rivalry could keep away any thought of a monopoly. As the companies fight to give you, the consumer, a better product or service, you can get the assurance that they are seeking to make the product better and sell it cheaper. During the turn of the 20th century, before the government took control of the regulation of fair business practices, many powerful corporations were formed that became monopolies in their field. Businesses merged and tried to eliminate all other competition. Small firms would combine to form a large corporation. Even without merging, some corporations and businesses formed trusts. Trusts were unofficial mergers formed to control prices and production in the marketplace. Okay. Some of the trusts would cut prices so incredibly low that small businesses were driven out of business. If the small business did not reduce its prices, customers would flock to the other store. If the small business also lowered its price, its profit margin would be so small that it would lose money. Eventually, the small business would be forced to close its doors. Okay. So, there's competition between businesses. Okay, so what was happening were businesses would merge so they could put all their competitors out of business. Okay. Some businesses wouldn't merge, but they would form trusts. They're like unofficial merges. They didn't really merge, but they're working together. And what they would do, if you'll notice, whenever you sell a product, or whenever you buy a product, if you buy so many, you get it at a lower price. So what they would do, these businesses or these trusts, they would lower their prices so low that small businesses couldn't keep up. They couldn't stay in business. Okay, and what these businesses and these trusts would do, they would lower prices they would lower their prices. They would lower them to a point that the smaller businesses, it put the smaller businesses out of business, put smaller companies out of business. After the trust eliminated their competition, they cut back on production and raised the prices. Okay, well, now that they're out of business, now they raise their prices because now they can control the price. Monopolies covered many areas of turn-of-the-century American commerce, especially in the field of steel and railroads. In 1911, the Standard Oil Company was divided into more than 30 separate companies. In 1914, the Clayton Antitrust Act prevented a merging of corporations to have intertwined boards of directors. Okay, so in 1914, they had the Clayton Antitrust Act. Clayton Antitrust Act. And what it was is it prevented the businesses from doing this. So we talked about there's competition between businesses. Businesses merge to put competitors out of business, or they form trusts. How they do it is they lower their prices, and the smaller companies have to go out of business. They can't afford to lower their prices that low. And then once these companies are out of business, then they raise their prices. And then in 1914, they passed the Clayton Antitrust Act, to prevent this from happening. Because what that does is that gives those businesses a monopoly. They can control the price. Many small businesses today are suffering a similar fate as a small business of early years. Large corporations are able to buy products in bulk at greatly reduced prices. Small businesses such as mom and pop stores don't have the buying power and can't buy at such reduced prices. Small hardware stores and drugstores are closing because of the lower prices at large nationwide chains. Small local restaurants have a hard time competing with the big national chains. Are all monopolies bad? No, some monopolies are beneficial. If you live in a small town, there may only be one gas station. That gas station is a monopoly. But by comparing with other stations whenever you travel out of town, you know you are getting a good price and nice service. No problem here. The United States Postal Service is also a national monopoly, but because of the need for a unified mail transfer system, the government feels it is important to keep the mail service regulated and held to one standard. Although in past decades the quality of the service had been inconsistent at times, the quality of service has increased in recent years. Natural gas companies or electric companies might be in a monopoly in an area unable to support two competing firms, but they do a fine job of serving a community. So let's talk about examples of good monopolies. I'm going to use the word good for lack of a different term. Okay. It said some examples are one gas station in a small town Okay, we said the post office, U.S. Postal Service, some towns have one utility company, either electric or gas, or one of each. Okay. So, examples of good monopolies. Usually small towns only have one gas station. Usually it's not a problem. The U.S. Post Office is a monopoly. Or if your town only has one utility company, maybe only one gas station or one electric company, those usually don't cause a problem. So what is bad about a monopoly? Let's say you live on an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and the people of the town depend totally on the shipments from freighters to keep them supplied with food and other goods. Your island's population is around 3,000 and there are 3 weekly ships, Ajax, Acme, and Bison shipping companies, that arrive at different times on Saturdays to sell wares to the people who cram the docks in order to do their week's shopping. Because of the importance of gaining most of the business in order to make the shipping profitable, the 3 freighters give low prices and high quality in order to gain the most commerce. Now let's say that Ajax Shipping has an accident to their ship and discontinues service for 1 year. Then Acme Shipping has a new global strategy and feels that your island is not in their future, so they drop out altogether. That leaves Bison Shipping as the lone seller. Things are alright for the first few weeks as Bison still delivers quality. But midway into the second month, you find out that the price of your favorite cereal has just gone up 50%. Instead of being $4, now it's $6. As bad as that seems, there is no more chocolate milk on sale, and Coke and Pepsi have been replaced by a very inferior brand that is the same price. A week later, you discover that all t-shirts are $4 more than you have ever seen, and jeans have doubled in price. You complain, but your protests, as well as those of thousands of others, fall on dead ears. The response you get from the Bison manager is, "So what? Where else are you going to shop?" You then discover the dangers of a monopoly. Higher prices, lower quality, limitation or elimination on certain goods, poor service and attitude, no rival competition, or alternative markets. How do I want to say that? We'll say disadvantages. Disadvantages of monopolies. Remember, a monopoly means there's only one person selling it, or a group of people, or a group of companies working together. So they have complete control of everything. They can control the price, so there's going to be higher prices, because no matter how much money you get, you always want more. Lower quality. Erase some of this. Okay, lower quality, and limitation. They just make whatever they want to make, or elimination if they don't want to make it. Elimination. Poor service. There's no competition to keep the prices down. They don't have to have good customer service because they don't have any competition. So there's no competition. Like if you think in town, we have several grocery stores. Well, if the thing is, if Dillon's decides to sell milk for $5 a gallon, everybody in town's either going to go to Brahms or Walmart. They have different alternatives. They just won't buy it there. So they have to lower the price so people will buy milk from them. And it's this way with every product or service. They're going to have good service, good customer service, because if they're rude to you, you just won't go back. You'll just go to somewhere else that will treat you better. If one store is out of a product, let's say that Brahms is out of milk, okay, well then we'll go to Walmart or we'll go to Dillon's, but we can still purchase it. Okay, so that is the disadvantage of no competition. If they're the only ones that have it, then you have no choice. You just have to do without it. Right now, you are studying this monopolies lesson using a computer operating system manufactured by a company that has been accused of being a monopoly, Microsoft Windows. In 2000, a U.S. federal judge determined that Microsoft held a monopoly in computer operating systems. According to the Justice Department's presentation, Microsoft has enough power in the computer industry to require computer manufacturers to pay them even if the manufacturer doesn't include the Windows operating system. Manufacturers naturally don't want to pay for a product they don't use, so Windows becomes the standard operating system in nearly all computers. All this reduces the customer's right to choose. According to the Justice Department, Microsoft has become a bully in the computer industry, taking away the ability of any other company to compete. Instead, they should have enough faith in their own products and believe that they will sell better than any competing product. In presenting its case against the software giant, the Justice Department submitted a plan to the judge to break Microsoft into two businesses. One company would continue to be responsible for the popular Windows operating system, which runs the majority of the world's computers. The other new company would be made up of Microsoft's applications and Internet products, their software programs, and Microsoft's groups of websites. No doubt there will be several rounds of legal appeals before any final decisions are made. Okay, so right now they're saying that Microsoft Windows in the year 2000, they were ruled as a monopoly. Okay, and they're still going through all of that, but that's why we have computers coming out today that don't have Windows on them. Like your Apple computers, they don't use Windows. It's like your iPads, your cell phones, the internet on that doesn't use Windows. Okay, go ahead and answer the questions, study your notes, and finish this lesson.